Well, good evening. This is the Hagerstown Planning Commission meeting of,
Wait,
not yet? Okay.
not live
Say
yet.
when.
I'll let you know when we are.
All righty.
I think my wife set this thing permanently to be muted.
So you or the computer?
Yes.
All right, we're live.
All righty. Good evening. Welcome to the Hagerstown Planning Commission via Zoom. Also broadcast to you via YouTube. My name is Doug Wright. I'm chairperson of the Planning Commission. Joining with us tonight, other Planning Commission members are Chris Davis, Colin Boscaroo, Jim Stone, Ron Thomas, and Judy Weller. I have not seen Shelley yet. Is she with us?
She's not going to be able to make it tonight.
Okay, very good. Also at City Hall, we have Kathy Marr, who's the Director of Planning and Steve Bachmiller, who's zoning administrator, Megan Flick, who is a zoner, a planner, and Debbie Calhoun, who has been with us forever as our secretary, glue, and everything else. So the next item we have on our agenda is approval of the minutes of June 10. I will point out that earlier I had offline, I had a conversation with Debbie. I think we overlooked Shelley. She was in attendance. So I asked that be a revision or correction. Are there any others?
Did we do any further discussion on that gas line that was going to be under the units, or were we supposed to wait to hear?
I think I said that that's out of our purview, and I would let the building inspector handle that if for the fire department. And,
Okay, I wanted to make sure we cleared that up.
yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Jim Stone, second by Chris Davis. I'm going to vote, first start off by just doing this a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then I rule that it passes unanimously. Okay, now we have, the next thing is Shelley, you're on. This is to do with a dumpster at 41 and a half West Potomac Street, South Potomac Street, West, where'd I get that? South Potomac Street. So I guess, Megan, I turn this over to you for orientation.
Yeah, I'll take care of this one. We received a request from Bowers regarding a dumpster in the back of their building, which was on the west side of South Potomac Street. They've been having some issues with our code enforcement office as far as dealing with trash collection, walking it around to the front street, that kind of thing. So they're looking to put a dumpster up along the back of the building. Ordinance requires all new locations of dumpsters to have a dumpster enclosure around them. Bowers is here. However, the code does say that this body can waive the requirement for basically good cause associated with the site. Staff would only point out that there are a couple of other unscreened dumpsters in the area, but I don't know if they're legal that way. I'm going to be checking into them, so I would encourage you not to really consider those as any part of your consideration. Just stick to this criteria that's in the ordinance regarding this issue, which is quoted in my memo. And Ms. Bowers is here to discuss.
Very good. Any questions of the staff at this time? Shelley, you would like to make a presentation?
Yeah, so we've been having some trouble, just walking it around up to Antietam, the trash.
down Potomac to set it out front. We all know the restaurants are there. You know, it's kind of the Maryland Theater is there. We're just trying to kind of clean up that area, and in the back, that's kind of an unseen area. We feel that's the best way to do that. The enclosure creates a little bit of traffic congestion back there because that parking lot is shared by 3 other buildings. And, you know, putting the enclosure around it is going to kind of impede like coming out in the turnaround. It's going to cause some congestion for some parking spaces back there. So I was requesting whether we could get that waived as far as the enclosure.
Any questions this time, Ms. Bowers? I did go by there. Go ahead.
No, I have no further questions.
Right. I did go by there this afternoon and look at it. I certainly can see where it'd be a conflict with the foundation folks backing out. I'm not quite sure the turning thing is all that severe, but if we were to force that Apple dumpster just to the right or just south of your location, which I think services either CNO Taco or what's the next one down? Art, the other next one down. If we put an ask them to put an enclosure around that, that certainly will cause a bottleneck back there. Yours is the one furthest from the alley. And of all the rest of them that are visible, it would probably be the least objectionable of all of them. I found the most objectionable is to be 2 new dumpsters that are on the eastern corner of the district court lot, right behind the Maryland Theater. One very large dumpster, and I don't think your picture is going to show it. It does show, yeah, down there, but it's new. It hasn't been there that long. There used to be a very nicely landscaped brick sidewalk there. And so now there's this very large dumpster that's not in all greatest of shapes with stuff coming out of it. Another smaller dumpster beside it. If I would say of everything in that alley, if we want to focus on anything, it would be those 2 dumpsters. Now, I'm guessing that they're servicing the Maryland Theater. I don't think they're servicing the district court because they have their own on the northwest corner of their property, and it's pretty well screened. So this is more challenging to the staff. If we want to ask Ms. Bowers to put an enclosure around it, we have to put an enclosure. We have to ask the restaurants to the south to put one around there, which would be a greater impact than that particular. And certainly, we have to do something significant to those 2 new dumpsters behind the Maryland Theater. So I would suggest to the Planning Commission that we grant a waiver and let it be.
I would agree.
I would agree also. I'm concerned. My concern is those darn trucks that dump those things. They are pretty wide themselves. Are they going to be able to get back there to get to that dumpster? The one you're talking about that's out further, where the restaurant is, that's pretty easy to get to, but that's kind of recessed back there. And are they going to be able to get in there and get to it?
I did have Apple Valley come and size the area and the dumpster. And in my initial submission to Mr. Bachmiller, I did enclose the quote, which is a smaller dumpster, a 2-yard dumpster, And they felt that that was sufficient and they would be fine getting in and out of there.
Okay.
I think you can see that location shown in the photos that were submitted to you all in our package. That's that white lines with the X.
Yeah. But I was concerned more about the size of the grabbers that go in there that, that I'm not concerned about the size of the dumpster because they probably use the same truck to pick up different size dumpsters. I was just concerned that the truck would be able to get in there and grab the dumpster.
Correct. And that's why I had them come out and assess that before I approached this to make sure that they were okay with that.
That's fine.
I think we should grant a waiver.
I agree.
Agreed.
I think we're getting close to unanimous.
Then I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver of not requiring an enclosure at this location.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anybody opposed? Then I'll rule that it passed unanimously.
I'm gonna
Thank you
check.
very much for joining us.
That you described, there might have been something on the site plan about that. The ones down there at the Maryland Theater. But I'll check into that.
Yeah, it's really very prominent, right there at that prominent intersection. Very close to this future plaza that we were hoping that's in the CIP plan. It's a real eyesore, and I certainly do encourage you to take a look at it. Hopefully we can get a good resolution to it. Okay, then our next item.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for yours. Our next item is then the Sailor House at Kiwanis Park.
Okay, so the city of Hagerstown's applying for a landmark overlay district at the Sailor House at Kiwanis Park. As you can see in the photo here, it's a small stone house. It was built between 1790 and 1810. And it's also documented in the Maryland Inventory of Historic Places since 1975. And in 2015, the Washington County Historical Trust began to work with the city to partially renovate and stabilize the Sailor House. So the intent is to preserve it as a historic landmark, but also it helps to secure funding to renovate the house. That's correct. And then in addition to the photos we attached, there's also a detailed history in the memo of the Sailor House that was provided by Rodney Tissue. And then I think Steve also sent around a memo from the HDC that summarizes their recommendation. But essentially they are in favor of protecting the building through the landmark overlay. They observe the house is in good shape considering its age and that it will be a nice addition to the city's historic inventory. So I think from this point, it's more of just a discussion, and then we would proceed to hold a planning commission public hearing on the overlay at the end of July. I think that's everything.
Any questions or input by commission?
Here's the map. Here's the satellite view.
It's actually north of that.
Guys, I'm having trouble hearing.
Yeah.
Where that red pin is on the screen.
Can't even zoom in there.
I think they're mumbling amongst themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, just ignore us over here. This is a better photo. I
You
can't
will.
zoom in far enough. to map the button. And these are the photos that you all have seen already, but I'll just scroll through them again.
The building itself is in the floodplain, and one part of the motivation is that there are exceptions in the floodplain ordinance. Let me back up. The floodplain ordinance limits how much you can invest in rehabilitating buildings that are in the floodplain. However, there is an exception that allows you to do more if it's an identified historic building. And there's a number of ways that, per the floodplain ordinance, the state floodplain law, that you can do that. And The only one that really seems to make any sense or work is to designate it as essentially a local historic property through our landmark process, essentially making it a one property historic district. With that in place, then those caps on investment in the building are relaxed, and we can make exceptions to the floodplain ordinance for additional investment in the building.
And the landmark overlay would just be the building.
Yes, there's no land around it. It's the overlay itself is the building itself. The floodplain, by the way, if you're wondering how high it goes up, according to the official floodplain map, it basically goes up to the front door sill. As far as the designated floodplain. So basically the foundation is in the floodplain, but the first floor itself and everything above it is above the floodplain. And from what I've been told, there's no evidence on the building that it was ever inundated by a flood, and it sits on a bluff in a horseshoe or what's it? Not a mule shoe, like a switchback in Antietam Creek, and it sits high enough where if this building ever does flood out, an oxbow, thank you. I knew it had something to do with livestock. It sits at the end of an oxbow of Antietam Creek, and it sits up on a bluff. So if for some reason this building was ever to flood, the city's got far more problems than this.
Yeah, I can't zoom in.
Like where that orange tree is.
I can't.
It won't let me zoom in.
You gotta go back to your right, back to your right.
In there.
And that's over the other way. Stop.
There's the,
Stop.
I can't zoom in any further.
Hold on a second.
no. There you go. That's it right there. And that's it right there.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm pointing to my screen, but that's it right there.
It's right at the end of the parking lot
Yeah.
for Kiwanis Park.
There we go.
Is that park owned by the city, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the actual applicant is the city administrator and the city engineer.
That's one of the attractive parts to me in my mind, that granting a landmark overlay on privately owned property kind of bothers me. But this particular case, it's owned by the public, and it'll probably always be in the hands of the public. And I think this is would be great. I know the building. I've been to the park more than once. I think it's a really a fine structure, and I enjoyed reading the backup. So I think it's something we should be doing.
I strongly support the overlay.
I agree.
I agree. One thing's for sure, they sure put a lot of effort into the historical providence on this property.
Whoever wrote that book about the Middlecoffs did a phenomenal job.
Yes, they did. I don't think I've seen any, and I haven't seen that many, but of the ones I've seen, that this is the most detailed historical providence I've seen.
Yep.
Yeah, FYI, part of what's driving this is that the city has an arrangement with the Washington County Historical Trust. The Historical Trust is actually the one on the tip of the spear as far as leading the rehab work. The city it hasn't really been a priority for the city just because of other commitments. But the Historical Trust has taken it on for the purpose of basically preserving it, but also using it as a hands-on classroom for building preservation skills. So basically by fixing the building up, they're going to be using it to teach people how to fix up buildings.
Are you looking for a recommendation?
No, because you're going to have a public hearing in July. This is just briefing for you for today.
All righty. Additional questions? Megan, if you're going to reuse your cover memorandum, I asked in your third paragraph, you keep distinguishing between which commission has done what? Because your third sentence starts off, commission members were in favor of protecting the building, and we don't know whether we're talking about the Historic District Commission for the planning commission, and we haven't decided that yet. So if you could put a little clarity in that second sentence, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Anything else? Let's see, it is what time?
Boy,
17.
17 after.
New record? Is this going to be a new record?
Isn't there something about having to go at least 20 minutes to be official?
No, there isn't.
Well, folks, I got a Little League game to get to. So I'm going to call for adjournment.
So moved.
And we'll see.
All righty. Thank you all very much for your time.
Best in person next time.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you.
all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.